In 2009, a small country with no history of exporting nuclear technology won a 400 billion won contract to build 4 reactors in the United Arab Emirates. It beat France. It beat the United States. The country was South Korea. That single contract forced the world to ask a question it had not seriously considered before. How does a nation that built its first reactor only in 1978 become the most cost-competitive nuclear builder on the planet? The answer involves standardization, a near-obsessive supply chain, and decades of quiet state discipline. And it matters now more than ever as the world scrambles for clean baseload power. The International Energy Agency and various independent energy researchers have documented a striking pattern. Western nuclear projects in recent decades have routinely run over budget and over schedule, sometimes by a factor of 2 or 3. The Hinkley Point C plant in the United Kingdom, for instance, has seen its cost estimate balloon to roughly $33 billion for 2 reactors. Korea's Barakah plant in the UAE delivered all 4 reactors at a final cost of around $24.4 billion. For 4 reactors, not 2. Korea's own domestic build cost per kilowatt of nuclear capacity has been estimated by the OECD Nuclear Energy Agency at roughly $2,000 to $2,500 compared to $6,000 or more in Western Europe and the United States. Korea also completes construction within roughly 60 to 72 months on average. Western projects have recently averaged over 120 months, and Korea's nuclear fleet, as reported by the World Nuclear Association, maintains a capacity factor, meaning the share of time plants actually run at full power, of around 90%, among the highest in the world. Korea's nuclear cost advantage did not arrive by accident. It was engineered over 4 decades through 3 interlocking decisions. First, the government chose a single reactor design, the APR-1400, and standardized on it relentlessly. Every new plant is essentially a refined copy of the last. Engineers do not redesign, they refine. That repetition eliminates the expensive learning curve that plagues one-off Western projects. Second, Korea built a domestic supply chain with deliberate intent. KEPCO, the state-owned energy company, and its construction arm, KEPCO Engineering and Construction, coordinated with Korean industrial conglomerates to produce components locally: turbines, containment steel, control systems. By the 1990s, domestic content in Korean nuclear projects had risen above 90%, according to the Korea Atomic Energy Research Institute. Third, the regulatory system, while genuinely rigorous, was structured to move in parallel with construction rather than sequentially. Licensing reviews and build phases overlapped, cutting years off the timeline without cutting corners on safety. These 3 forces, design standardization, supply chain integration, and parallel regulation, compounded into a structural cost floor that Western builders simply cannot match under their current systems. Korea is now positioning that industrial machine as an export product. After the UAE deal, it has pursued contracts in Poland, the Czech Republic, Saudi Arabia, and Egypt. The Czech Republic's decision in 2024 to select KEPCO as the preferred bidder for the Dukovany expansion marked a significant moment. A European country choosing an Asian nuclear builder over French and American rivals. But the road is not clear. Geopolitical friction follows Korean reactors wherever they go. U.S. export control laws require American approval for some Korean nuclear transfers because U.S. technology is embedded in the original designs. That dependency gives Washington quiet leverage. Domestically, Korea's own nuclear policy has swung with each presidential administration. The Moon government initiated a phase-out in 2017. The Yoon government reversed it in 2022. That political volatility creates uncertainty for the very workforce and supply chain that makes Korea competitive. And globally, the renaissance in nuclear enthusiasm, driven by AI data center energy demand and climate commitments, means Korea faces newer competition from China's state nuclear builders, who operate with similar standardization logic, but even deeper state subsidies. Korea's nuclear story is not really about nuclear power. It is about what happens when a nation picks a hard technology, commits to it through multiple political cycles, and treats the supply chain as a strategic asset rather than a procurement afterthought. The Western world deindustrialized its nuclear sector during the long gap between Chernobyl and the current climate emergency. Korea did not. It kept building, kept refining, kept training. The lesson generalizes in complex infrastructure. Consistency beats cleverness. A good enough design built 20 times outperforms a brilliant design built once. As the world urgently needs more clean, firm power, the country that never stopped practicing is now the one the world is calling. That is a pattern worth understanding, wherever you happen to be watching from.